Everyone, and welcome to SEC Championship Game Week. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving and looking forward to the championship game in Atlanta next week. As she said, for questions, press *1. Each coach will be with us for up to 30 minutes. We'll get in what we can. Please limit to 2 questions, and we can come back for some follow-ups after that. Also, please pause just a brief moment when I call on you before starting your question, so the first few words do not get cut off as the line is transferred over. So with that, we will open it up. We'll begin today with SEC East champion Georgia and Coach Smart. I believe Coach Smart is with us. Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good afternoon, Coach. Thanks for being with us. Congratulations on a 3rd straight trip to Atlanta. For questions for Coach Smart, if you'll press *1, and while we wait on those, Coach, if you could give us some comments as you head to Atlanta to face LSU for the SEC Championship.
Yeah, we're excited for our opportunity, and feel like our kids have earned the right to play in this game. Certainly excited for a 3rd straight year to be playing in it. I have a lot of respect for this venue and this event. I think it's one of the best sporting events there is. The atmosphere that's created in Atlanta is just incredible, and I know our kids have really cherished the memories from those games in the past 2 years, and also looking forward to this year, which with the team we have to play at LSU is got a very strong team, and that's the way it should be in the SEC, and it always has been.
We'll get things started with Brooks Cabina, the Baton Rouge Advocate.
When you take a look at it right now, what are the main challenges that you see in it and slowing them down?
Where do you want me to start? I mean, 'cause I only got 30 minutes, so it's all over. I mean, the running back is best. I mean, he's one of the most powerful, explosive. I mean, he does an unbelievable job. He was really good against us last year, but he has been a really good player. It all starts with the quarterback. Their offensive line protects really well, and they've got probably the best group of wideouts, size, speed-wise, that you could ever imagine. So, I mean, when you start with the offense, you can start at any location you want.
Next is Murray Poole. I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Brooks.
Yeah, and was there anything from yesterday's game that you got a chance to watch, or have you really gotten to that? And if so, do you feel like defensively you've seen more complete sides from them than what you might have seen in the past couple of weeks?
We've had overlap tape with the Auburn and Florida games. They've got a very complete team. They've obviously had some guys injured and banged up on defense, but they've got a tremendous defense. They've got great athletes. We saw that last year when we play them. So it's not like there's a lot of weaknesses when you start talking about the caliber of program and the caliber of team that Ed's put together.
Thank you.
Now we'll go to Murray Poole.
How you doing, Dave? Kirby, I know with the passing for year that Joe Burrow's had everything, I know you want to bring pressure probably at certain points on him, but how careful do you have to be of his running ability, bringing that ball out of the pocket? I know he hurt you last year with the long touchdown run, so is that something you have to really be cautious of when you apply the pressure of this guy's running ability?
Yeah, he's a tremendous athlete. He's got balanced body control, pocket awareness. Probably when you wrap all those things together, it makes a combination of probably one of the best quarterbacks that I've seen, because I've seen guys that can run, tons of them. Not very few that keep their eyes downfield like he does. He's calm in the pocket. He extends plays. When you think you've got everything done right, he breaks tackles. I mean, they have a free run at the quarterback. He breaks a tackle and throws a completion. I mean, there's just he doesn't have a lot of weaknesses when it comes to what the decisions he makes and the weapons he has around him.
Next is Chip Towers of the AJC.
Kirby, I was just wondering if you could, you might have done this already. I was going to let you on here just to update the health a little bit, and in particular, if you had any update on DeAndre Swift.
No, not a lot of update from yesterday post game. Kind of same thing. Everybody's the same status they were yesterday.
Appreciate it.
Next is Dan Matthews of the Chuck Oliver Show.
Hey, Coach Murray just touched on it a little bit with Burrow, but with the initial, now that you've been able to get into the tape a little bit, just what stands out to you about him?
Joe Burrows?
Yes.
A little bit of everything. Joe's an incredible athlete. He's got extreme toughness. You see him take shot after shot and stand in the pocket and make throws. I mean, he's everything you want in a quarterback. When you talk about athleticism, decision-making, awareness, he doesn't make many mistakes. Even so there's times he's taking sacks, but they're good decisions. He didn't make bad decisions with the ball. He very rarely turns the ball over, and he's got just a stable of resources around him to distribute the ball to.
And obviously, Joe Brady is getting a lot of credit for his development this season, now coming over from the Saints. Did you know much about Brady before he joined their program?
No, I did not. I did not know much about. I mean, I'd been to the Saints and visited with the Saints before from a defensive perspective, but I did not know much about Joe. He's done a tremendous job, as well as Coach Insminger has, who is a really good quarterbacks coach and been around him for a long time, and they make a really good tandem.
Thanks.
Next is David Pascal of Chattanooga Times Free Press.
Hey, Kirby. I know you said DeAndre was fine yesterday, but a couple of years ago, obviously, Kerryon Johnson had a shoulder injury coming into this game, and as you guys quickly were able to pounce on him, he was not the same guy in Atlanta as he had been a couple of weeks ago earlier in Auburn. What is kind of the challenge there on managing that, and how, I mean, is it one of those things if a shoulder's 80%? I mean, how do you kind of gauge that along the way?
Yeah, I don't think it's the same scenario. I expect DeAndre to be fine.
Okay, and then what all is when you look at LSU and what they're doing offensively and what you guys have been able to do defensively? I mean, how much do you get excited over watching? I think they're number 2 in the country, and you guys are number 2 in the country in scoring defense. They're number 2 in scoring offense. Does a matchup like this excite you?
Well, I think an opportunity in the SEC championship excites you. I mean, it doesn't. It really doesn't matter to me whether where we're ranked defensively, offensively, especially that part. I know that everybody will make a big deal about those two things, and they've got a tremendous offensive explosions this year and tremendous offensive unit. A lot of respect for them, but that doesn't make the game any bigger. It's as big as it can be anyway.
Next is Mike Griffith of the AJC.
Yeah, Coach, Devontae White didn't dress. Will he play this week? And did Tyler Simmons, did he get the brace off his shoulder?
Tyler's fine. Tyler's been playing throughout the year, so he's been fine. He's been for a while now. Been without the brace. Devontae should be back. Yes, he's expected to be back.
Next is Chip Howard of KZNE.
Kirby, what will the loss of Pickens in the first half Saturday do to your receiver rotation?
We had the same thing this week, so it was not a lot different.
Next we'll go to Steve Moulton at WDZN.
Coach, how are you today?
Doing good, Steve.
So a lot has been made about Joe Burrow and his development. From the tape last year that you saw Joe Burrow to this year, does he even look like the same quarterback from last year to this year to you, Coach?
I mean, he had the same athleticism. I mean, he had the same arm strength, a lot of the same talents. I think the biggest difference is the offensive system. and what they're allowing him to do with full progression reads and pre-release, 5 out. I mean, they got a lot of different things than what they just had last year. So, yeah, he's certainly playing better. I think the people around him are playing better. They've been much more explosive. He's got more confidence, but they're doing a lot more things offensively as well.
On the defensive side of the football, if you could speak to the linebacker core, specifically Patrick Queen, and the development you've seen along that linebacker core this season at LSU, Coach.
Yeah, they've always had tremendous defensive players. I think with the loss of the kid last year, I mean, unbelievable player, and they've had a lot of guys step up. And when you watch what they've done this year, they've gotten better and better with each game. And I think Dave Aranda obviously does a tremendous job, always has, and their team has played better and better throughout the year defensively.
Thank you, Coach.
Next we'll go to Mark Weiser, the Athens Banner-Herald.
Hey, Kirby, you mentioned Burrow and the playmakers on offense, but why are they so effective in what they are doing in, you mentioned full progression reads and 5 out. Is that pretty much the extent, or what specifically?
A lot of talent, good coaching, good offensive line, and a run game. They do really good things tempo-wise. They're simple in what they do, and they get a lot of carryover week to week with different presentations of the same thing with really good players doing it.
I want to ask you also, Demetrius Robertson, how is he in his development this year as the season obviously enters SEC Championship weekend, especially now when you're down a couple of receivers at the start of this game at least?
He's doing well. He's doing well.
Next is Paul Newberry, the Associated Press.
Hey, Coach, just a little follow-up on Pickens. Obviously, you had to deal with that situation this week as well, but a big step up in competition. Just how big a blow is that to your team going into this game, missing him for a full half?
I'm not really concerned with it. It's not a lot that you can control. So, I mean, you put the players out there that can play for us, and just next man up mentality, and that's kind of the way we've been at receiver all year. It's been, a guy's been out, it seems like, at some time throughout the entire year, and that will continue into this game.
Thank you.
Next is Anthony Dasher of GeorgiaSports.com.
Hey, Coach, another LSU offensive question. I was just wondering with Burrow, their skill set, the explosiveness rather on offense. How much did they remind you of Oklahoma from a couple of years ago?
Not very much. I mean, very, very different. Obviously, both are very explosive teams, but really two different style offenses.
We'll go back to Mike Griffith at the AJC.
Is there another offense that you could equate this to you've run across? You've obviously been a coordinator for a long time.
No, not that I can remember. It's very unique, very different, and I think the players in it. We've played a lot of teams that have strengths and weaknesses, and you try to exploit those. But when you look across the board at this group, there's not a lot. There's not a lot there weakness-wise. I mean, they really play physical, and people don't give them credit for that. They play really physical, and their back, their offensive line, their receivers are extremely physical, but they have a really great ability to throw the ball quickly and get it out, and throw the ball vertically down the field.
Do you, and just follow up on that, do you have to change what you do defensively? I don't think your defense has given up a play longer than 30 yards since the South Carolina game. Will you have to modify your defense for this team?
I don't really know. I mean, we're still in the stages of looking at these guys, and it's hard to say that right now. I mean, I've been 3-4 hours into it today, and it's not even Monday yet, so I don't know that. And if I did know it, I probably wouldn't say it anyway.
Okay, thanks.
We'll go back to Steve Moulton.
Yes, Coach. I was wondering if you had a chance to see the LSU Texas A&M tape, and if you did, your thoughts on what they were able to do to the Aggies, Coach.
Yeah, extremely talented, explosive, fast, vertical passing up and down the field. Really well-coached unit.
Is this as good a wide receiver units? I know a lot of focus on Burrow, but number 1 and number 2 seem awfully explosive, Coach.
Yep, I agree.
Thank you, Coach.
Go back to Brooks Covino, the Advocate.
Kirby, your program was one of, in recent, to push through in the SEC championship game, and the ones outside of Alabama recently. LSU stepping in with this chance. What do you having experienced that from your end to fire and push through? What do you expect from their program? What they're experiencing behind their doors and leading up to this that you might prepare your team for?
I'm sorry, I missed part of that. I didn't catch the end of that phone. Went out. What are you asking again?
Oh, I mean, new team in the SEC championship game, long time for them. What do you think they're experiencing? Kind of, been one of those teams that's pushed through recently.
What do I think they're experiencing?
What might do you feel like there's more that they might be pushing into this game from that?
No, I mean, I think you'd have to ask Ed that, because I don't really know. I mean, I know they'll be well prepared. I know they're extremely talented. They've played in a lot of big games this year. You think about it, they've played so many big time matchups that obviously the SEC championship is another one of those, but it's the next step for both of us.
Thank you.
Next we'll go to Brandon Sledge, the Macon Telegraph.
Hey, Coach, in terms of your own roster and the fact that a lot of these guys are coming into this game for the second and third time, does it kind of give you all an advantage at all to have those guys that are experienced to in terms of preparation all week?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's the next game, so regardless of where it's played or who you're playing or what you're playing for, I mean, those guys have played in big games. They've played in big-time bowl games, and so have ours. And in the SEC, it's that way every week. I mean, we play a conference schedule that you're going to play teams in the top 25 3 or 4 times. So we've all been faced with that.
We'll go back to Murray Poole.
Hey, Kirby, Jake Camarda had a really good punting game again yesterday. I think he kicked check 3 times dead inside the 20, and then Tyson Campbell down one ball inside the 1 yard line or 1 or 2. But how important is that going to be to make the Tigers drive the long field there to try to keep them with a good kicking game again?
Well, certainly a valuable force in some big games, and field position is always important in big games, and he's done a great job of that, and got to continue that going on.
Next we'll go to Brody Miller, the Athletic.
Now, you mentioned that you've seen the LSU defense kind of improve throughout the season. I guess, is there any area specifically that's really jumped out to you that you've seen them improve in?
Yeah, the linebacking core, to me, is the one that sticks out the most. They played better and better, really aggressive. They've created pass rush with their linebackers, and their cover guys, their linebackers are really good cover guys as well. I mean, they've always had a great secondary. They've got, one of the most experienced and talented secondaries in the country. So their linebackers have really stepped up, I think, and played really well also.
In your own experience, do you think maybe some of that is actually having some time together after shuffling, losing Devin White and whatnot? Do you think that might have a benefit there?
Yeah, I really don't know. I'm not sure of that.
Fair. Thank you.
We'll go back to Chip Towers.
Coach, specifically LSU, obviously, they go 4 wides, 5 wides a lot. They're trying to get you man-to-man. Based on what I've seen, I'd much rather hear your opinion on it. Your secondary, particularly your corners, have been pretty good in man-to-man. Can you talk a little bit about that matchup? How do you feel specifically about Eric Stokes DJ Daniel, Tyson Campbell, matching up with those LSU receivers one-on-one and being able to cover them? Can they cover them?
That's a question I think you find out around the game time. We're certainly going to prepare as hard as we can and do the best job we can to prepare for a very talented offense. You can't line up in one thing against these guys and expect to be successful, but at the same time, you can't have confusion and chaos, and they feast on that.
We'll go back to Brooks Cabino.
Yeah, you mentioned LSU's always had a secondary, and this particular one, how, in what ways does it become difficult when there's depth for secondaries that can change per personnel, and there's depth there, and different guys have different roles? I mean, have you seen opponents like that this season like this, and what problems does that make?
As far as their depth in the secondary?
Yes.
Well, I mean, the deeper you are in the secondary, the more guys you can play. They certainly don't have to go very far past the top because they've got some really, really talented players in the secondary. So, I mean, the depth gives them the ability to do multiple packages and things like that on third down. But they play the best guys. I mean, the depth probably only helps with injuries.
Thank you.
We'll go back to Steve Moulton.
Coach, I was hoping you could comment on getting back to the SEC championship game in 3 consecutive years and really what this says about the program you're building there in Athens, Coach.
Well, it says our staff and our administration and our everybody involved in the program has done a tremendous job supporting these players. But the players have just, been so resilient because, each year, and probably this year with the loss coming the earliest, they've been through some adversity, and their backs have been against the wall, and they pushed and bounced back and had some hard fought wins, and obviously now get a chance to get an opportunity that not every team in the country gets, and that's to play on what I consider to be the largest stage in college football, and play on a stage where you get to play against one of the best teams in college football.
What we all assume out here that the turning point was that double overtime South Carolina game for this team. You tell me, was that the turning point for this team, Coach?
I think there's been several. There's been a lot of turning points. That certainly probably cranked the heat up and the pressure up to perform. But there's been a lot of good work and improvement throughout the year, and some hard-fought battles that I thought helped some young players turn the corner outside of the South Carolina game.
Thank you, Coach.
We'll go back and take another from Dan Matthews.
Hey, Coach, you've gone up against Ed Orgeron at least once since you've been at Georgia. Just what have you thought of the job that he's done there since he took over that program and having to go through a tough division of the league?
He's done an unbelievable job. He's created confidence and a toughness in their program. Their kids play really hard, really physical, and they play with no fear. And they do a tremendous job of being aggressive. And you look at the big games he's coached in and played in, his teams have been successful. And I think Ed's one of those people that's smart enough to put a lot of good coaches around him and let them work. And he does a great job of managing that. And I think that his players really play hard for him and buy into their organization. You see that on tape. And any coach that does that, I got a lot of respect for.
Every coach comes in and has their goals that they want to have in terms of how they want the program to be. How much harder is that than it's easier said than done to be able to get that accomplished?
Oh, it's tough. I think that's the goal of every coach when they take over a program, is to impart their footprint and their wisdom into it and create a culture of, whether it's winning or just competitive toughness. It's what you're always trying to do when you build a program, and he's certainly done a good job of that.
Thanks.
Next is Jake Rowe of 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Kirby, when you start talking about those close wins, those hard-fought wins, how valuable are those to you at this point in the season, and especially when you're going into a game where you very much expect if you're going to win it, it's going to be a four-quarter battle?
I'm sorry, you went out there?
I was asking about, you talked about those hard-fought wins, and how valuable can those experiences be in a game where you expect it to be a four-quarter battle, you know, if you're going to come out on top? How much can that help you, all those tight wins that you guys have had this year?
It can be a tremendous help. Obviously, their team has been through a lot of tough battles, too. And you come out of the SEC and you represent your programs in this game, you've been through the gauntlet. You know, whether you're undefeated, you've got one loss, or you may have two losses. You've been through some tough, hard-fought battles, and I think that gives this such a classic matchup, and why you've seen a lot of really good games in this, because both teams come into this game battle-tested.
Thanks.